In this video, I send emails with PowerShell and SendGrid. Hello, my name is Travis and this is Raltos. In this video, I create a reusable PowerShell function to send emails through SendGrid. Before that, please take a second to subscribe and click the bell icon for new content. And thanks to those who subscribe. Let's move on. I started this project with a simple goal in mind. I wanted to send email through PowerShell without using an SMTP relay. Some organizations block non-standard ports like port 25 used to send email. I originally planned to use an Azure function as kind of an SMTP relay, sending a webhook to the function and then the function sends the email. Once I started using SendGrid, I realized that was overcomplicating things. I could simply send an email using the SendGrid API over standard web ports. SendGrid is a third-party product integrated into Azure used for sending emails. It's able to send a large volume of emails, such as what would be required for an email marketing campaign, but it can send an individual email as well. The free tier allows for up to 25,000 emails a month, way more than enough for what I need. I set up a similar system a while ago using an Azure Automation Runbook to send an email from a webhook. That required an O365 account with an Exchange Online license. This was used to send notifications if the organization's SMTP relay server was unavailable. Using SendGrid instead doesn't require a runbook or a license. I intend to use this function with another project I'm working on to deliver reports, but it can be integrated into any script that needs to send an email. Here's what I cover in the demo. I'm going to set up a SendGrid account in Azure, create an API key, walk through the PowerShell function, and then test sending emails. Here I am at the portal. The first thing I'm going to do is create a resource. And I'm going to search for SendGrid and create a SendGrid. It's going to ask me for some information. I need to enter in a name. I'll just add SendGrid01 in case I need more than one. And a password. This password will be used to authenticate to the SMTP server. If you do send over port 25, you need a username and password for that. I don't plan to use this. I'll use the API key instead. I'll create a new resource group called SendGrid RG. And here's the pricing tiers. So you can see the free allows for some reporting, integrations, advanced delivery, and up to 25,000 emails a month. There are additional service plans if you need them, but I will select the free tier. You need a promotion code to send over 5 million emails a month. That does not apply to me. Here it's asking for some contact information. SendGrid will send a confirmation email. If you don't confirm that, I think you're limited to like 100 emails a day. So it's just something to keep in mind. You will want to confirm that email. And under legal terms, it's going to ask you to review. And it does ask for a phone number. I did not get a phone confirmation with this, but it does ask for a phone number. And I'll create it. And this will take a couple minutes to deploy, so I'll come back once it's done. Here I am back at the dashboard. I'm just going to search for SendGrid. There it is. I'll click here, go into my SendGrid account. Here's SendGrid. There's a couple things I'll point out. You can change the password that we set up on the deployment here if you need to. There's other information over here under settings, properties, configuration, contact information. Here you can get your SMTP server if you do want to send it by SMTP and the username. But you can get that from the actual service itself. And if you want to manage the service, if you need an API key like we do, I'm going to click that button. Here we're into the service. Now this is the SendGrid website, not Azure anymore. And if we want to see account details, here's that username again. That's the username I would use to sign into the SMTP service. But I'm going to go under account details and API keys. I need to create an API key to send using the REST method. So let's create an API key. And this is pretty easy. I'm going to do full access. I'll give it a name. Just call it PowerShell. Create and view. The only trick to this is once we exit the screen, you will not be able to get this key anymore. So I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to paste it in here so I don't lose it. So once I click done, so now I have an API key for PowerShell to use to send email. Here I am in VS Code. Let me get this out of the way. As you can see, I have a function, and that function is going to accept some input parameters. So most of them are required. I've got the destination email address. That's who the email is going to. The from address, that's who the email is coming from. The subject, the content type. So this is going to be either text plain or text HTML. You can see that's not mandatory. And if you don't add anything, it's going to default to text/plain. And then finally, we have the content body. That's the actual body of the email. I have some comments and help file in here. So this just explains what each parameter does and what you need it for. After that, I've got the API key. Now I'm going to have to enter that API key. The one you see there is different. I'll just copy this and paste it in. Ideally, you wouldn't want to keep this API key in your code. I'm going to use this in either Azure Functions or Azure Automation, so I'll use the key vault or an environmental variable to hold that key instead of adding it to the code. For this demo, I'm just going to leave it in there. Here's the headers. So this is building out the headers. It's going to have the bear token, and that's the API key, and the content type. And then down here is the body. Within the body, we have the personalizations. So this is the to, and that's the email address, the from email address. This is just building out a JSON body to pass in to the API. And one thing I will point out, if I come back up here to this, I put an API reference in the description if you need to go back and look at that. Let's just hop over and take a look at that quick. If I come over to mail send, it gives a lot of information on how to send the email. And here is the information that I'm adding. So you can see there's to as an array object. I have an email address in, but I could also add a name. So if I wanted to add a display name that's different from the email address. And there's a whole bunch of options in here. So you can add to this as you need to. For example, from, we can add the email address as well as a name. There's BCC options and carbon copy options as well. So if you need any further information or need to add to this, this is where you can find that information. So all this function does is then builds out the header, builds out the body. Then I've got a try catch block for the conversion of the body to JSON. That will throw an error and break if it doesn't work. And then I've got a second one that runs the invoke-restmethod, and it just posts the header and the body. If that doesn't work, it will write an error message as well. One thing I noticed is this won't return a code like a 200 code if it's good, but it will return a code if it fails. So if it does have a problem, you'll get that message in this write error. Otherwise, no news is good news, I guess. So let's just put that in memory. The first example I have here is going to call the function. I'm using splat. If you're not familiar with that, that's just a way of adding in the parameters in a list format. I could do it the other way, where I add the parameters like destination, and so on. I'm not doing that. I kind of like the layout of the splat instead. It's easy to read, and if I reuse this code in other scripts, it just makes it a little bit easier to change. So all I'm doing is building out that array. I'll add that to memory as well. And then if I run the command, so there's no response, give it a second to work its way through. There it is. And here's the message. So that worked. Down here I did something a little bit differently. I'm creating an HTML body. I'm going to add that to memory. And here you can see, unlike the other one where I left the content type out, I switched the content type here to text HTML. I'm just going to run this whole thing. So now it's the content body is going to be the HTML body. And the point with this is that you can send both a text-based email as well as a HTML-based email. Here it is. So here you can see it centered the content. So that worked as expected. That's it. You can use this code to send an email over standard web ports through SendGrid. This works for both text and HTML-based email. I'll add a GitHub link to the comments below where you can find this code. That's it for the demo. I can't promise that this will eliminate the need for an SMTP relay in your organization. After all, there'll always be a printer, scanner, or postage machine that needs an open relay. This function will make sending email from a PowerShell script a lot easier though. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.